The Atlantic has published new messages from the top secret group chat where a journalist was mistakenly added to the thread. They show Defence Secretary Peter Hegseth discussed the timings of US strikes on Houthis in Yemen. The US President says Mr Hegseth isn't to blame.
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position over the signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this. Hegseth. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you. And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal and we use Signal and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
Well, for more on this story, former Chief of Staff for the CIA, Larry Pfeiffer, joins us now from Washington. Larry, thank you so much for your time. We've just heard there the President denying that there was any classified information shared in that chat, but we're now today seeing messages with specific timings of bombings which hadn't happened yet. How could that not be classified information?
Well, I've been involved in national security in one way, shape, or form for 4 decades, and I've never seen the kind of information that Mr. Goldberg showed us today as not being classified, at least at the secret level, if not the top secret level. This is information about attacks against a foreign nation, surprise attacks against a foreign nation, and this material was being put on an unsecure platform hours before it was to commence. Even with the little details that were available, it was enough detail that if it had gotten the hands of the Houthis, they could have moved from the target zones, they could have hardened the target zones, they could have launched defenses that could have potentially brought aircraft down and killed American pilots. It is really ludicrous to claim that it was not classified.
How would these sorts of conversations normally have taken place? It sounds as though Signal, in your experience, isn't the go-to platform for these sorts of conversations to be happening.
Absolutely not. Signal is a wonderful platform for people like you and me to use in our civilian lives to protect our communications as they're traversing through the airwaves or down cables or wires. But when the communication is on your phone, whether you're preparing it, storing it, or whether you're receiving it and storing it, it is vulnerable to surveillance and collection. These are non-secure devices. They're not to be used in secure spaces. So the information is vulnerable to exploitation by foreign intelligence services. So very dangerous to use it. How would it normally have been done? Normally, these kinds of conversations would happen in the White House Situation Room or other SCIFs, as we call them, secure compartmented information facilities, which are hardened and protected from surveillance. If a principal, they're very busy people, if they're not able to physically be in one of those rooms, they have secure communication packages that are provided by the White House, the National Security Council, that allows them to join a meeting in progress from wherever they are, whether it's at a home, in an office, in a car, in a plane. Heck, we even brought in Secretary Kerry. During my time at the White House, we brought him in from his sailing yacht off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. It can be done. It can be done easily. This equipment is just steps away from these individuals.
Is there any idea why they would have used a platform such as Signal to have a conversation like this? If that technology is available?
Yeah, that is the big mystery to me. I think it's some combination of laziness, arrogance, ineptitude. I mean, sure, it's a lot easier to pull out of your pocket your iPhone, your Android, and communicate with people than it might be to walk into another room or to take an elevator down to get in your car or to drive across town to go to the White House Situation Room. But I expect my senior leaders of my country to take those extra steps in order to protect those kinds of communications and protect the military personnel who are involved in these operations.
The Trump administration has been sort of downplaying this incident over the last couple of days. We just heard there the president suggesting that Signal itself was part of the problem. Do you think that there will be any ramifications for the president or any of the other top officials who were involved in that chat? Do you think there'll be any ramifications for them domestically?
So I would agree with the president that putting this kind of information on Signal was probably the original sin of this multi-act endeavor. Will there be consequences? I think there'll be consequences for someone. I don't think anybody did anything criminal. I don't think anyone's going to be charged with a crime or go to jail. Could somebody be forced to resign over some of the negligence with which they approach this activity? I think that's possible. The two that I think would be most likely would be Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor, or Secretary Hegseth, because Waltz put him on this platform. Hegseth is the one who put the sensitive information out into the chat and into the communication. But ultimately, all of them bear some responsibility. I, as an intelligence official, when I would go to a meeting, there were a number of things I would want to know before that meeting even began. Who's in the room or who's on the conversation? What classification level is the meeting happening at? And what clearances do the individuals in that room have? And if you had any question about that, you had a responsibility to raise that question to ensure that, again, the information was being protected.
Should American allies, such as Australia, given that we're involved in the Five Eyes Alliance, etc., should they be concerned about the way that sensitive information is being handled by the Trump administration?
Well, I think there have been a number of instances over the course of the last couple of months that have raised that question in capitals all around the world, including our staunch Five Eyes allies like Australia. I think this activity of the last couple of days underlines that concern, and I would hope that our good allies are asking the right kinds of questions in the right kinds of forums to the United States and to their counterparts to ensure that their material is being protected. You know, we have a robust, wonderful partnership, and frankly, the security of the Five Eyes nations would not be what it is today if we weren't cooperating together. And so ultimately, it's a relationship based on trust, and if trust has been harmed, I think the U.S. probably does owe our allies some answers.
Former CIA Chief of Staff Larry Pfeiffer there in Washington. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.